I can't even imagine what it must feel like to watch your child go through a seizure and know that every time they experience that seizure, that's causing some lasting harm. And what must be even more frightening is that over a third of those children are not responding to drugs. But there is an option available. Now we know today that actually there could be as many as 19,000 of those children who may benefit from something known as the ketogenic diet. This is something that's advocated by NICE. But unfortunately, today, only about 500 of those children have anywhere near access to even considering that as an option. The good news is in the UK where people can access this dietary management approach to epilepsy, but unfortunately there's some parts of the country where there is no support whatsoever. And we have a common objective today as Nutricia and Matthew's friends, which is to seek greater awareness and support for families living with this devastating condition, and to ensure they have the right information and support to make an informed decision, but also the incredible dietitians that can provide support and access to this diet, that we have more of them and more resource for them to be able to support those families.
And when you go from the stage of holding your baby going, please God don't let him die, to holding your child who's in the middle of an hour and 40-minute seizure going, please God take him now because I can't bear this anymore. When you're wishing your own child dead so you can't see them having any more seizures, you know, it's a pretty horrific thing that goes on. By this time my marriage had broken down, I've got a young daughter, it's having an impact on Alice. Matthew's behaviour has gone through the roof with the side effects from the drugs. He's on about 3 or 4 different medications. We've got 2 anticonvulsants, we've got 2 rescue meds as well. And it's not getting any better. He's screaming from morning till night. I don't know how to comfort him. If he's not suffering with side effects, he's having seizures. So I went back to the same neurologist he'd had for years. And I said, right, I don't care what you say, I've got to try this diet. I've done everything you've asked me to do. I've tried everything, and this is it. This is the last resort. I've got to at least tick it. So Matthew started the ketogenic diet, and it was daunting. When I first looked at it, it was quite daunting when you look at it. He started the ketogenic diet, and within 2 weeks of starting the diet, a boy that was having hundreds of seizures a week, his seizures had dropped by 90%. Within 8 months of trying the diet, he was off all medication. And I got what was left of my son back. He was happy. I still get upset talking about it now. He was happy, he was laughing. He cuddled me, he could recognise me. His relationship with his sister, instead of her being scared of going near her brother because he'd hit out or he'd bite her or he'd scream, she could cuddle him. And the 2 of them together, I can't put this into words, how different it was for all of us. And when you get over the euphoria of that and the happiness, and you go, oh my God, look, I've got this lovely little family left, what we've got back. Then the rage set in.
How does switching your body over, so you're using this kind of more fat-burning state, how does that help someone with epilepsy that's not responding to drugs? It's quite a big leap.
It is quite a big leap
to make.
Yes, it is a big leap. So what happens is when you actually reduce the amount of carbohydrate that you're consuming, the body registers that and it starts to say to itself, right, I'm not getting that carbohydrate fuel in, I've got to find another source of fuel. And because you're then actually providing fats in the diet, the fats are then broken down by the liver and the body starts to create ketones as a result of the amounts of fats that's coming in. Those ketones are released from the liver, circulate around the bloodstream, and they then become the predominant fuel, particularly for the brain and for other, for the muscles and other tissues in the body. So we can use this alternative fuel, which is ketones. And it's this switch into burning fats and producing ketones and using ketones which alters the biochemistry within the brain. And this is the switch that we feel has some impact, and this is what delivers the change in seizure susceptibility. It's not a cure as such, it's about altering the susceptibility of the brain to seizures. So if a child is actually eating orally, then breakfast might involve maybe scrambled eggs and might be mushrooms, tomatoes, that sort of thing. They might have a little shake with some cream in it and maybe some berries. Snacks could be little ketogenic cakes or biscuits made with maybe ground almonds and butter. So you're using, instead of using flour, you're using alternative flours really that are higher in fat. Meals, lunches and things, they could be just tuna mayonnaise, say, with vegetables, and again it could be a little creamy dessert with maybe a chocolate mousse type thing, again made in a ketogenic way. You tend to have to make things from scratch, maybe using cream and cocoa and maybe some sweetener, that sort of thing.
Our whole mission is that if the first two appropriate medications fail, and this falls in line with the big global consensus statement that was drawn up by the medical professionals that are expert in this field, if the first two appropriate medications fail, then the ketogenic diet should be discussed as an option.
So we've talked about this idea of that medical nutrition, dietary approaches that can help manage diseases and conditions, which is, for many people quite unfamiliar territory. They were used to drugs and not foods, but we've talked about also, for ourselves as Nutricia, that we make products such as Ketogenic to help support families as part of that dietary approach. But I'm quite interested, at what it takes to produce a product such as this. So I'm delighted to welcome a colleague, Joanna Hill, who is a product development manager in paediatrics, a long history.
23 years.
23 years.
Yeah.
And equally passionate is, how do you produce something like this? Is this just, simple as fat, or is it more complex than that?
Well, of course, the process starts with the design. So you've got the idea behind the product first. So we have a team of people in the Liverpool facility at Nutricia who take concept designs and take them right through to the commercial process. So that's the overall process of lab scale recipes, those kind of things. When you're looking at a product like Ketogenic, the process is the same, but the content is very, very different. We've heard today how very, very specialised the diet is, and that same rule applies to developing a product. So you mentioned Dr. Freeman, for example. He actually approached Nutricia in about '98 and asked us to develop a formula, a ketogenic diet formula. So he was a strong advocate of the diet, but how about a formula that provides everything that can be used in an emergency situation, on the go, as a sole source of nutrition or as a tube feed. So that's where the idea was planted, and that's the link with Nutricia.
Do a lot of work around services, so supporting families. I'd like to kind of understand a bit more about how do we work with patients and healthcare professionals to provide those kind of services, and what does that look like?
It's all about trying to make life easier for patients and for their families, and also for their healthcare professionals. That starts firstly with the product, so really designing ease of use and so on into the products from the get-go. So it's all very well designing something which is clinically appropriate, but we have to remember people have to be able to use this in real life, in their homes. So we have a customer service team ready and waiting, who the dietitian will be in contact with to say, I have this patient, this is their prescription, this is their needs, and they'll organise for delivery to be shipped to the house every month, so specific products and specific quantities every month. That team will also liaise with the GP to ensure the prescription is received. So again, family does not have to worry about going to the GP and trying to get the prescription and so on and so forth. That's all arranged for them, and goes right through to things like once they've agreed with the family what the delivery time should be, they get a text to remind them that it's coming. The text will tell them what time of day it's coming. Even the delivery driver will put the product away for you in the cupboard, take away any old product that may have gone out of date, all of these sorts of things, just to try and make life a bit easier. Emma mentioned Chef Neil briefly before, who's an amazing character.
The famous Chef Neil.
Chef Neil.
Explain.
He's a wonderful character. So yes, he's a fully trained professional chef, and he's worked with us for a good number of years. And he really has become an expert actually in the ketogenic diet and recipes. And he works with ourselves, with Matthew's friends, with dietitians to create new recipes. In fact, there's now well over 100 different recipes for families, from the basics of strawberries and cream we mentioned before, through to more advanced recipes. So there's something for everybody.
And I think that anybody who attends any of these gatherings and Chef Neil's events always come away, apart from the fact you meet other people in the same situation as you, which is immensely empowering, just to see other people who are also saying, finding a little bit tricky, and you don't feel on your own, but also you get lots of lovely ideas and different ways to use the product. If you've got Ketocarb prescribed, there are different ways to use it, but also you might get other ideas, maybe not necessarily including Ketocarb, but just other easy ideas to put meals together.
I've got to say, I think the relationship, what we've got covered is there's a really good working relationship between Nutricia providing the products, Matthew's friends and Chef Neil and our keto cook Mo, all working together on how we can push that forward, together with the medical professionals and the families. So you're completing that circle of support. Everywhere they go, they've got the medics, they've got the products, they've got family support, they've got it there. And that's really important. The more support you've got in, the more successful you're going to be.
We have products that can help, and we put a lot of effort into getting these right for people, and we do think about what people's needs are when we're designing them. So it's really great to see the impact that they can have, and I suppose my message really is there are products out there to make it easier. Yes, we've heard about the diet, but there are ways to introduce this, and it doesn't matter how severe the condition is, we have products that can help to do that.
That family could have been on their knees with what they've been through already. So we know by the time they come to us, they've already been to hell and back. Yeah. Because they've already had to deal with epilepsy. They've already had to deal with the fact that they've had hope dashed by at least a couple of meds failing if we get them early enough. So it's about, by the time that dietitian is faced with that family, they've had meds that have failed, they've had to get over the shock of epilepsy, they might be having side effects, they might have not had sleep for months. So you've got a very stressed out family. Now it's about trying to rebuild them and give them the confidence that they can do it. For me, don't take no for an answer. Don't ever take no for an answer. It's difficult for the families to keep fighting, but for a family, if you want the ketogenic diet, do not take no for an answer.